Bennett, aka Benny Boy, Boken the Broken, an adventurer that likes to search for treasure but oftentimes gets unlucky and injured just to get Barbara to give him his fan service. Anyways, in this video I'll be covering Benny's kit, talents and leveling prioritization, artifact builds, recommended weapons, recommended team comms, and how to play Benny. I already made a guide on Eula, so do check it out if you're interested. Timecodes are in the description, so do skip ahead on which info you would like to look on. Anyways, my name is PP and welcome to a Genshin Impact guide video. So how does Benny Boy work? Bennett is a pyro sword wielding character that can fit in the role of a healer, an attack buffer, a sub DPS, or a burst DPS. His elemental skill, Passion Overload, deals pyro damage to enemies. This skill has two variations, which is a press and a hold. If you press the elemental skill, you will do a single smooth and swift flame strike that deals pyro damage. If you hold the elemental skill, you will charge up with two phases. First phase being a double strike, which will launch enemies while dealing pyro damage. Second phase would be 3 strikes, where Benny performs a double strike, then do a smash to the floor, which launches enemies, but also launches Benny at the same time. Hence, to utilize his elemental skill, I would recommend only pressing it, since he will still generate particles while dealing damage or applying pyro in a quick fashion. Note, if you hold the skill longer, the cooldown will increase. Benny's elemental burst, Fantastic Voyage, is one of the most broken kit in the game, and this is due to the buffs that he gives to the team. 1. Deals damage to opponents, whether it's melt, vaporize, or raw pyro damage. 2. Heals a character that is on field standing inside his burst up to 70% of their max HP, and for some reason, the healing of Benny's burst is so fast to the point where literally won't need to worry if you take damage. 3. Buffs the character that is on field standing inside his burst extra attack based on Benny's base attack and talent level, but it does have a restriction at Constellation 0, which is only characters that has been healed up to 70% and above can get this buff. And for your information, base attack is the white number shown in his attributes, and this scales with his level and the weapon that he is equipping. So for talent leveling prioritization, elemental burst then elemental skill. And auto attacks are definitely not needed since he will be off field most of the time. Do note that Benny does have a passive, Fear Not, which lets Benny's elemental skill cooldown drop from 3 seconds to 1.5 seconds when he is in his burst. It also lets Benny launch enemies and not himself when using the hold skill. His other passive, Rekindle, makes his elemental skill a 3-second cooldown rather than a 5-second cooldown after his ascension. And lastly, if you use Benny for expeditions, he will collect all the treasure and give you all of it after 15 hours instead of 21. Constellations. C1, the burst attack buff now has no restrictions and also gains more attack buff based on 20% of Benny's base attack. C2, when Benny falls below 70% HP, his energy recharge is increased by 30%. C3, increases elemental skill talent by 3 levels. C4, lets Benny have an extra smash or slam to the ground by doing an auto attack after executing the first phase of his hold skill. C5, increases his burst talent by 3 levels. C6, infuses any character's attacks in his burst field into pyro, and also gains 15% pyro damage bonus. Summary to his constellations, C1 being his best one to get, alongside C5. C2 for extra energy recharge, C3 being a DPS increase but not as important as other constellations. C4 is also not much needed, and C6 will be an increase for Benny to become a potential on-field pyro sub DPS, but will limit himself not being helpful to characters like Eula, Keqing, Razor, Ayaka, and other characters that rely a lot on auto attacks. Oh yeah, one thing before you continue. Do like the video, it helps a lot. Artifact builds. For pre-AR45 players, 3-star options would be the Exile and Scholar set, a 2-piece or a 4-piece of either set for extra energy recharge and better energy team management. The 4-piece Instructor for extra elemental mastery for the whole party to deal more elemental damage. For endgame players, a 2-piece emblem for extra energy recharge and a 4-piece for extra burst damage, but not recommended since he only deals his burst once after popping it. 2-piece or 4-piece Maidens. This is an option, but not recommended since he heals very fast anyways. That also includes 2-piece Megalith that grants extra HP and can be used, and it is an option. If you want to run a 2-piece Megalith, do run it with 2-piece Emblem, as it gives most value by providing both energy recharge and HP. 4-piece Crimson, a set that you can use only if you want to use Benny as an on-field DPS, and by that I mean Constellations 6 Benny. The best artifact set that Benny will and forever use will be the full 4-piece Noblesse, as this gives extra burst damage while buffing the characters in your party after using the burst. This set is so universal and resin efficient in my opinion, as you can trade all the trash artifacts that you have at the crafting table to get potentially good Noblesse pieces for most of your supports. For Sans, depending on what weapon you are running, energy recharge to maintain ult uptime, or either elemental mastery or attack for higher elemental damage. For Goblet, power damage bonus for more damage, or HP for more heals. And for Circlet, crit rate or crit damage depending on what you need, or HP for more heals. Recommended weapons. For 5-star options, Mid Splitter if you want a whale build, and actually nice as it gives high base attack alongside crit damage for easy crit builds. Aquila for Vonia, one of his best ones as it gives high base attack and passive gives him a bit of tankiness, also obtainable on a standard banner. Skyward Blade, lower base attack from the previous weapons but also great since it gives energy recharge. Jade Cutter, lowest base attack but provides higher crit rate for easier crit builds. For 4-star options, Alley Flash provides a very high base attack for a 4-star weapon. Sacrificial Sword provides energy recharge, but best suited for Xingqiu rather than Bennett. For Vonia's Sword, low base attack but is very useful for better energy team management. The Black Sword for easier crit builds but does require the battle pass. For free-to-play options, Prototype Ranker, a budget version of the Aquila. Blackcliff Longsword for easier crit builds but does cost your star glitter, and Festering Desire for better energy management, but only available during the previous 1.2 Dragonspine event. Skyrider Sword, low base attack but energy recharge stat is very useful. The Amenoma is actually not recommended in this case, since it has low base attack, and the bonus attack that it gives is quite useless for a character like Benny, and it is better used on characters like Keqing, Ayaka or Jean. Recommended team comps. Well, as most of you know, Benny is broken and he is pretty much in a lot of teams, like a flexible role. Characters that benefits from Benny are Raiden, Child, Diluc, Yola, Xiangling, Xiao, Ganyu, Keqing, and more. Pretty much every character in the game. So the only character that does not need Benny in a team would be Kokomi, Wu Tao, Albedo, and possibly Goro or Ito. So yeah, Benny is one of the supports that grants almost everything you need in a team. So how do you play Benny? Well, his rotation is pretty much simple. When his ult is up, just pop it and chow. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, no kidding. That's it actually. But if you want to run Benny as some sort of a sub DPS, what you can do is pop his burst and then just spam his elemental skill back to back every second. My advice, if you have Benny, do build him as he can pretty much be a full all-in-one support for your team. Getting Constellation 1 and 5 is pretty much your goal if you want to snipe for his constellations. And for an endgame player, it won't hurt to crown his burst, as it is one of the most broken kit in the game. Other than that, I would advise you to build characters based on your taste and enjoyment of the game. But just build Benny, as he heals, buffs, and does damage all in one. Thanks for watching this video. If you find this video helpful in any way, do drop a like, subscribe to see more vids like this, and comment on what other videos you would like to see. And remember, stay F2P.